Welcome to the Be Magnetic podcast. I'm your host Tara, energetic strategist, psychic medium, and your guide to life and business that feels like a full body fuck yes. If you're ready to move beyond success and step into true peace, pleasure, and prosperity, this podcast is for you. Get ready for unfiltered stories, mindset shifts, and real strategies that will empower you to live and lead with your heart. Together, we'll unlock your highest potential, expand deeply rooted abundance, and shift into soul-led success without sacrificing your authenticity, joy, peace, or freedom. So take a moment, settle in, feel the energy shift, and let's dive into the magic that awaits. Hi and welcome back to the podcast. I'm so excited because today I have another personal life update for you because, oh my gosh, there's been so much happening these last, 6 to 8 weeks since I've last recorded a personal life update. And there's so much I wanted to tell you. I want to tell you about all the in-person events that I've been getting myself into and have been building and really expanding my connections and community offline, and also give you updates on bringing my stepdaughter here and just like the events that I've been doing as well and how things in my relationship have shifted. I want to tell you all about the closet overhaul and how I've been trying to balance self-care with success. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I feel like the first thing that I really want to talk about is this intention that I had for this year with just wanting to lean more into community, more into connections, more into just, building lasting friendships. And for me, I believe I've either made a story about this or a post, I don't remember now, but I was talking about how I went into the year with this clear intention of I want to meet new people, I want to build these connections online, and I want to do this, because I do genuinely believe that there are opportunities that come from that. But for me, this was really just about acting upon the desire that I've had for the longest time. And it's so funny because a client of mine actually sent me a voice note yesterday sharing that they are struggling with the exact same thing, where for years, really my entire youth, I have had the belief that here in the area where I live, I cannot meet like-minded people because it's a very small town. We've got maybe 1,000 people living here, and most of them are, elder people or family with kids. Although I get into the age where I have kids of my own, still I feel like they're all in their 40s, they're kind of further ahead, in different life stages. And I never was able to meet like-minded people who are into spirituality, who have their own businesses, who are ambitious, but at the same time want to lean back and just want to live different lives. Right? Where they want to explore, they want to have freedom, they want more out of life. I never really thought I could meet people like that around here. And that was a belief that dictated my life for so long. And, when I came back from Cuba, I was at the first moment, I was like, okay, this is just temporary. I can deal with this. I can live with the thought that I don't have a big cycle of connections here. I was fine at first, but then throughout, I would say, the winter between 2023 and 2024, I realized that I do miss those connections and I do really need that exchange with friends and other people, especially women, to just feel emotionally and mentally balanced. And so because of what I was moving through last year, I wasn't really feeling like I had the time or the space to do that, although I did take some steps to make new connections last year already. But this year I really went into the year with the intention to prove that belief wrong and show myself that I can actually find that like-minded community online, not just online, but in real life. I really went to more of in-person events, whether that be a yoga class or a sister circle or a retreat or whatever, like just get out there more, but also just to then nurture the connections that I've made on these events and like really make time to at least once a month see someone, like hang out with a friend. I know for a lot of you that might not sound like a lot, but because I do have a husband and a family and a business and a job and all of that, my time is limited and I do want to spend some time with myself as well. So I do feel like once or twice a month is max as to how much I can see other people, because I really want to spend some time then with them, and it's usually like an entire day or at least half a day. This has really bared fruits, and it was so incredible for me to witness all the wonderful women that I have already connected with and built friendships with. And it is so wonderful to know for me as well, and so healing to know that I now have like deep friendships here that are so aligned and that share the same interests, and we get to see each other every month or every couple months and really expand on each other's ideas and thoughts and dreams and really nurture into each other, which has been so wonderful for me. But not just offline, I've also really shifted the way and approach that I've made connections online, where there was definitely a time in my life where I mainly made connections for like business purposes. And while I don't think there's anything wrong with it, I just realized it doesn't really work for me. If someone that I know that I'm connected with wants to work with me, awesome. Like there's always space for you guys. And in fact, I do love to work with, you know, friends or people I know the most, because I feel like I already know them. I know we vibe. I know usually the difference I can make in your life, but it's not a must, right? I'm not friends with you because I think we're going to work together one day. If that happens, awesome. But if not, then I just really honor and value you as a friend, as a human being. And that is the way I've started shifting, making connections online as well. Because when I started out, it was really about, like, I didn't have a business back then when I started my social media journey. I was just excited to share my travels and my personal experience of life online, and I've made incredible connections from that. And I've also shared that a little bit on social media, where there was a time where I really just shared my own journey, my own thoughts from the perspective of what's gonna get that to me, like what opportunities is that going to open up for me. And I've tried to make that shift back, because that was feeling way more aligned than what I did in the middle, where I basically just dipped social media to feed into my business, which is fair, but it's not what works for me. So that's been incredible. Loved the conversations I had online and offline, and just the people that came into my life. And I'm excited to expand on that even further over the summer. Then there has been wild news on the visa process. So wild. I actually thought we were pretty good, like timing wise. I thought, okay, now we can like start to apply for it, like do things. It all seemed so flowy and so good until I found out that they changed everything. So what happened was my brother-in-law, so my husband's brother, called me and said they brought back the paper. So we had to legalize the papers, which is basically, since they're from a foreign country, from like the side of Germany, for us Germans, they're like the papers are from a foreign country, which is Cuba. We had to kind of prove that these papers are legal and that the data on the papers is actually correct. And so what the German government requires is to kind of prove that and to legalize it. That's what they call it. It's basically just a different office than the office that gave the papers, proves the data and like puts a stamp on it, and then it's done. But in Cuba, that takes up to 2 months. So we left the papers to legalize when we were in Cuba in January. And I believe a couple, like mid-March, probably, not end of March, my brother-in-law called me that they finally came back. So we could go to the next step, which is translating them, because obviously they're in Spanish and we need them in German to apply for a German visa. So, okay, I thought I would, like for half an hour, we were on the phone, I explained everything to him that he needed to do, because he's the one that is doing most of the process for us, because we are obviously in Germany and we can't do as much from here. Or so I thought. So I explained that to him for like half an hour, 45 minutes, the whole process of how he needed to go to the capital and like translate them and like this and that and this and that. And then we hung up and I was like, let me just fact check things, because it was quite a while since I had last checked the page of the embassy, because I was familiar with the process and I didn't know that like something would change anyway, because for the last 4 years I was so regularly visiting that page and nothing ever changed. So I was like not expecting that. Anyway, I went on the page because my intuition told me, and I found out that they've changed the entire visa process. Everything. They just changed everything, which is wild to me. And that, first of all, shocked me. It was like a Thursday night and I was like completely shocked. I actually thought maybe I can get some like self-care in now, but then I found that out. So I obviously wanted to like get myself informed and understand what has changed, because obviously now we have to do different things. So yeah, it actually did change for the better. But at the first moment, it was kind of annoying because we had basically wasted, in quotation marks, already 2 months or 3 months on that. And if we had known this in January, then yeah, like we could have done everything differently from the beginning. But anyway, this is how it is. They say they changed it from January 1st, but I'm not sure. I don't really remember if I checked the page again since then. I might have not. So I don't really know whether it was my fault or whether they just changed it in between, but it doesn't matter anyway either, since this is how things are and we have to live with that now. So anyway, it took me a couple hours to get behind this, because also these pages, they're in like German that nobody understands. I don't know, like if you're English speaking or from whatever country, I'm sure you can relate, like when something is in your language but not even you can understand, because it's like such a weird way of describing things. Anyway, I had to use ChatGPT for my help to like translate this into German that someone could understand. And then obviously I had to kind of digest the fact, but since it did get easier for us, it's actually a pretty good thing. So we did have to change a few things. Instead of going to translate them right away, we have to legalize them one more time, but this time by the German embassy, which is an extra step, but it shouldn't take so long because the Germans are usually way faster. So it's not that big of a deal, and my brother-in-law would have gone to the capital anyway. And yeah, and then we can submit everything online, which is awesome. And I do hope that by now everything being online, it is actually going to be a bit faster. Not that we have time rush, right? We plan for her to come in August, so there's still plenty of time. The visa for my husband took 4 weeks, so I don't believe this will take any longer, since it's actually way easier for a child than for an adult. But we do want to book flights, because you guys know, the later you book flights, the more expensive they are. And so I would really love to book flights maybe end of the month or at least in May. So we still have some time and we can plan things as well. So yeah, but that is that. There was like a big kind of trauma thing, but we managed it and it all worked out well in the end. I've also started hosting more in-person stuff, and while I haven't had any workshops, I believe, since I recorded the last personal life update, it's still so present. And for me, this is something that I'm constantly working on, because it's constantly in my thoughts, and it's something that I know I will expand on even further this year, because it's just such a different energy and like so much fun to do things in person, and again to connect with people in person. Will that mean that I'm not going to do things online? Absolutely not. Like, the serving my online community will always have a big priority in my life and my business because I'm truly passionate about everyone that I connect with, no matter where they're from. So I do have incredible things planned or visions around that as well. But then person stuff is also something, again, that I want to do to heal some of those limiting beliefs and those, like traumas that I carry from when I started out. Because when I started out, I remember my mom telling me, like, why don't you just apply at like a yoga studio or like go there and hold a workshop and things like that. And I heard her and I knew that these were good ideas, but at the time it was, first, we were in the midst of a pandemic, and secondly, it was just not what I had envisioned for my life back then, because all I wanted back then was to travel. I didn't want to stay here. But I've quite changed, and my vision for life has also quite changed. So now I'm open to that. I'm grateful, and I am leaning more into that, which has been really, really fun. So if you're in the area, then keep your eyes open, because there'll be more in-person stuff coming your way over the course of the summer and the fall. I've also, another personal project that I've been working on was my relationship dynamic. So I've shared about it a few times before, where since we moved to Germany, it's been quite challenging sometimes for us to find a healthy dynamic and really balance things out. And yes, our intimacy and just our connection has suffered a little bit through that, because I have a lot of the times took the rein on things, or was just the one in charge, the one with carrying the responsibilities, and that weighted on me. But it obviously weighted on my husband, because he didn't feel like he was the one that was in charge how it should usually be. And he didn't feel as independent as he probably is used to or wanted to, or is healthy, right? That was just given to the circumstances that we moved to my country and he didn't speak the language. But I also moved into the year with the clear intention that this is something that I wanted to change and find more balance in, because it is just healthier for the both of us and for our relationship to balance things out, so that I can lean back and I can, again, be in my feminine while he can, feel like a man, basically. So we've made some move there. I have given up a lot of responsibility, and for me that was really mainly realizing that I can't protect him from anything. And while I do want to protect him because I love him and I do want the best for us, and it is hard sometimes to let go of the control because I understand things differently, it kind of affects me too, because it's our future that we're building together. It is better for the sake of our relationship if I let go and if I let him learn his lessons. And that is really what I've been doing these last few weeks, where I just pushed him to do things by himself, where before I would go with him to the doctor's office, I would now send him alone. Although I knew he wouldn't understand everything and probably miss half of the information that the doctor gave him, it's still fine, right? I did it for the sake of the dynamic that we were building, and also for him to learn to get more independent. He started his driver's license, which I'm very happy about, and he's almost through with the theory part, which I'm so excited by. And I've started doing more stuff by myself again, where I love spending time with my men. I think it's also healthy for us to do things separately, where he gets to hang out with his friends and I get to hang out with my friends. And so that is something that we've been doing more and more as well, which has been so good for our relationship, although it meant that we didn't spend as much time together. But it's fine, we still make time for each other. So all in all, I've been really lightening my load by just giving him more responsibility, although it was very hard for me because I knew that it would have probably been better if I did it, but that's fine. This is the only way we get to the place where I want to be with the responsibilities. And so that's been that. And we have already noticed such a big shift in just how the dynamic is, and everything just feels so much lighter and so much more joyful, although there is more things that need a second attempt, which is fine though. I did also learn by my own while I was traveling, so he gets to do that as well. The next aspect that I wanted to tap into is how I started balancing responsibility with just fun and pleasure, because that's something that has been on my agenda for quite a few months now, where again I have increasing responsibilities and I know they will just increase more with my stepdaughter coming here. So one of the main intentions for this time while she's not here yet was for me to find a way to balance work responsibilities with fun and pleasure, because I find it really important, and the vision that I hold for my life is really that I'm able to have time for myself, have time for my friends and my business and my passions, but also obviously meeting the responsibilities that I hold as a stepmother, as a wife, as a working person, as a business owner, all of that. And what has really helped me is to, first of all, plan my weeks more realistically. And what I mean by that is not just being realistic in the sense of what I can get done in a day and like make sure to put everything, even my self-care, into my schedule, but also to leave room for flow. Where before I would just stack my calendar really full so I could get everything done, which worked well. And I'm a person who can be very dedicated and I don't have a problem working hard or just getting things done. That's just my nature as a generator. I have no problems doing that at all. But I noticed that towards the end of the middle of the week, like Wednesday, Thursday night, I realized how I'm craving the weekend. And the reason for that, as I found, was that I don't have like time to flow, right? I don't allow myself, or didn't allow myself, to actually like postpone a activity, because I'm not a procrastinator, so I will get things done right away. And so what I've started doing, which has worked really well for me in terms of balancing, is just to have buffer time. So while I don't schedule anything after 3 p.m. anyway on Fridays and on Mondays, so my heavier work days are in the middle of the week, as I've got time off after 2 or 3 p.m. on Mondays and Fridays anyway. On the other days, also schedule an hour of buffer time in where I don't have anything planned, so that if something runs a little bit longer or if there's something unsudden, that unexpected that comes in, I have time to do that without getting like into time delay with the other stuff. Or I can just use that to spend a little bit more time on my walk or have a conversation with a friend in the meantime or something like that, right? Like ability to flow. And I've realized I don't even need as much flow as most people think, like half a day. I don't need that, because if I have that, what I will do at the end anyway is spend time, working or getting things done. But just having the freedom to decide what I want to do right now is very, very crucial for me to have a balance and feel somewhat balanced between responsibility and fun and pleasure. And I also make sure that, I do have self-care activities scheduled in. I do have my massages, my yoga classes, my other things scheduled in, meetings with friends, and that we do like go out and adventure also regularly on the weekend or free days, so that there is somewhat of a balance. Also, the next thing that I want to get into, the next couple things, are just a few exciting things, projects, tiny projects that I got into. So some of you have noticed also I didn't share too much on social media because it came like so dripping in, and honestly I forgot or didn't have enough passion for it, whatever. But I did a closet overhaul. So I started to completely get rid of all the clothes that weren't aligned with who I wanted to become anymore, and also any clothes that were old or that I had for quite a long time and just didn't like anymore. I just got rid of all of that on one weekend, so I kind of halved my closet, and then I bought clothes for like 500 euros, which probably for some isn't quite a lot, but for me it is a lot, because I haven't spent as much money on clothes ever in like one sitting, because I've always been very like, let's say not so much interested in clothing or the way I dress, because I was mainly living on the beach or traveling, and so everyone was just wearing like whatever. But for this next chapter and the version that I'm becoming and that I have become, there's an aspect that is really important. So I poured into that. I wanted to do that forever. And so that was like a big vision board manifestation thing come through, just to be able to, firstly, spend the money, secondly, just, feel so incredible every time I dress and like go out, because I feel really aligned with my style and the stuff that I'm wearing. So that's been really fun. I've also really enjoyed spring. I've definitely felt this new confidence, this excitement, and like just so much anticipation for what's to come. And it did feel like a little bit of like a new me kind of energy. So I've been really enjoying that and bursting in that, and just obviously like warm weather. And then I have heavily spent a lot of time on rebirthing my business, my brand, my offering. So this is a long-term project that I've started all through last year, and then also continue this year, because last year was very much so about just healing and like letting go, releasing, rebuilding my energy system, awakening my own magic, and rebirthing who I am. And then this year is a bit more about actually aligning the brand and aligning the business systems and aligning the offerings. So that's something that I've heavily leaned into the last few weeks, which has been also so fun. And we're like, it's so interesting to see, because I'm at a point now with this where we are where I want it to be. We are like, the vision has manifested, right? The business systems, the way I'm leading the business, the strategies, the systems of like selling, launching, everything are now exactly the way I wanted them to be. And the brand feels so good. And this is something that I've struggled with for so long, where I've just never really knew what my expertise was or what I wanted to hone in on in business. And I did quite pivot a few times over the last 4+ years, because I didn't really know what my thing was, basically. But I did find it, I think. And I remember I had a podcast interview also a few weeks ago where someone did ask me how you can find your thing. And I responded that sometimes it just takes time. And while there is people who know from the get-go what their thing is, because they maybe discovered their thing prior, and then out of that knowing they start a business, and that's awesome for them. But for me, that wasn't my journey. And one of my karma numbers is the number 7, which is all about finding that out, right? So it has been a big part of my youth, of my teenage and adolescence years, to figure out what my thing was. And so for the longest time, I put pressure on myself to know, because I thought everyone needed to know in order to have a successful business. And I really wanted to know, but I couldn't force that, right? I couldn't make this come faster. It was just a natural unfolding of my journey. But since my 20s are ending this year and I'm moving into this new decade, I can feel how everything is just solidifying, and how I'm slowly finding, and like I found my thing finally, which is feeling so good. And it's just so good to hone in on this. And I've found it for a while now. I've realized that I found it probably mid last year, and since then, like the last, I don't know, 9 months, I've just been honing in on it and sitting with it. And I haven't shared too much about it yet, because I really wanted to make sure that that is my thing. But I do feel like it is, because I have never felt so aligned and so confident and so sure in this ever before. So that's been an exciting shift that just happened. And then I've finalized most of the new offering that's going to come out in fall. I'm so excited. There's some last touches to do, and just for me to sit in this energy to hold that container before it's going public. So excited. Yeah, that is most of all what the last few the last few weeks have been for me. If you want to learn more about just what's been up in my life, you can go listen to the last personal life update I launched in March. So that's actually telling a bit more of how the start of the year was for me, which might be interesting for you as well. And then I highly recommend also one of the more recent episodes, If I Take My Foot Off the Gas, Will It All Slip Away, which is talking a bit more about how we can allow ourselves to slow down and step away from the business a little bit, and leans more into this whole aspect of how we can balance self-care with success. You might want to listen to that as well. And then thank you so much for hanging out with me. Really appreciate you. And make sure to screenshot this, tag me, and share your biggest takeaway. And with that being said, I see you next time. Bye. Thank you for hanging out with me. It was a blast. If you're new here, then make sure to subscribe to the show to not miss any new episodes. And if you haven't done so, please feel free to give the show a 5-star rating. This means the absolute world to me, since it helps the show to grow and allows me to bring more incredible guests and episodes your way. With that being said, until next time,